The Eastern North Carolina region resides on the coastal plains of the eastern seaboard. What once was a thriving economy built primarily on textiles, agriculture, and manufacturing has today suffered the perils of globalization, forcing business and industry leaders to invest in new strategies aimed at attracting advanced manufacturing, life sciences, and aerospace industries to the region. To enhance workforce development, the STEM East Initiative emerged in 2009 in an effort to forge strategic relationships between business and industry and education. STEM East's mission is to develop STEM education programs tailored to support local industry and spur economic growth. The result has seen key leaders in business, industry, and education come together to build learning environments that will produce tomorrow's STEM literate workforce.
People have an ability to be able to affect what happens in their community or in their region. And then it partly depends, are they willing to commit themselves to do what needs to be done to have that change take place. And so I think that's part of what we're about in relationship to changing the face of education to some extent. Embracing the concept of a STEM East in terms of one is a concept that people working together are often have a much greater ability to affect change than if they try to work individually or independently. And if they embrace technology in terms of a new way of doing things, change, that good things can happen as a result of that as well.
There's been a lot of interest generated in the 4 or 5 counties that we now are in, and we only have 13. And, this is year one of really serious engagement, where we have gone out and taken our action steps from our 2 years of planning. And from those action steps, we have seen this birth, and it's growing. It's growing consistently, almost to the point where we're a little bit worried about fidelity. We want to make sure that we stay on top of that. Seed programs that we've established in 2 other counties have gone viral, to use a modern word, I guess, is that we have networks now that have expanded from 1 STEM center to 15. Because that county saw the importance of what's going on, and they saw it as an opportunity to really recreate their schools.
We're very pleased. I think there are two areas in the state where we've seen really high-level work in the STEM areas, and this has been one of them. They've really been proactive in going out first to industry and say, what are the skills you need? Now here are the curricula that we're going to use. You pick the modules that best align with your workforce needs.
The reason I think that STEM East has had and is having the impact that it has now and will into the future is that I believe they've got the right idea about how to build partnerships. And I'm no longer convinced that the public school sector alone can get the job done, and even is a little bit at peril. We need the support of business and industry, but we also need the political clout that business and industry brings forward. And Steve and John have the right attitude, the right demeanor to make that happen here.
It's also been high level of performance from what we've seen from the students. When you walk into a lab, Pittsco lab, like one of the first ones that opened at Havelock Middle School, and the kids are excited about learning. They don't see themselves as learning, they see themselves as having fun. And when learning gets fun, and when they're learning in an environment where it's hands-on application, they learn by doing, they get excited, they take ownership of that learning, and they perform at higher levels.
Steve is basically on loan to the STEM East organization from the local school district. So he was the director of curriculum instruction for the county, and so that's a natural marriage. He's still technically an employee of the school district, but now he's representing business and industry in Eastern North Carolina. So the silo effect that seems to happen in so many types of projects is not there because Steve is firmly planted on both sides. And so it's a beautiful combination of business and industry supporting education and vice versa.
That's what's so exceptional about what we have going on here in the Eastern region is everybody's come to the table. You know, Spirit AeroSystems has told us what they need, and we're going to produce those workers for them. We're going to do that. That we're going to give them competitive employers, so that their industry will be successful here. But until until this initiative came together, we hadn't had an opportunity to talk about that. And you know, education can no longer exist in isolation, and industry can no longer exist in isolation. If either one of us wants to be successful, we've got to come together, and we have to work together if either one of us is going to be successful.
As a employer, business, from the Spirit AeroSystems, we have a responsibility to the company to build a good pipeline of employees, as does every business. And it oftentimes amazes me when some businesses don't think that way or become reluctant to become involved in a STEM initiative or learning initiatives in the schools, because those are their future employees.
America has an employment problem, not an unemployment problem. And what we're trying to do is back up in that pipeline far enough, just like you would at any industry or any kind of lean model or anything you do inside of an advanced manufacturing industry. And we're actually trying to say, at what point are we not turning these kids on to the right jobs? What point are we not preparing them for what America needs to move into these jobs that we don't even know what they're going to look like? But we do know the underpinning skills that are going to be required to perform these jobs, and that's what we're working towards.
We are very excited to complete the first phase of the Golden Leaf Rural Broadband Initiative, as many communities throughout North Carolina already are benefiting from an expanded NC REM, and there's much work still to be done. Approximately $28.2 million in federal funding was included in the Round 1 project, of which 99.3% was to be allocated to the private sector. This project created and/or saved hundreds of jobs throughout the state, and will substantially reduce middle mile access prices for last mile providers to better reach underserved areas and keep those costs stable for generations to come.
These projects are putting people to work right now, building the network. MCNC has reported that the project has already created or saved about 400 jobs. And as we move forward with phase 2, these dollars, once they're expended, will probably create or protect a total of 2,500 jobs.
Because in the long run, this initiative itself will not just create jobs here, and it will, not just construction jobs and laying line or whatever, but it will create knowledge jobs, jobs that arise from the local school system, Danita, jobs that arise from the community college, jobs that arise from the university system here.
We've got to put people back to work, and we've got to get the American economy back to full strength.
The newly activated fiber in Round 1 traverses 37 counties in southeastern and western North Carolina. The routes are engineered to include 414 miles of new build, 291 miles of acquisition of existing fibers, and 197 miles of upgraded fiber. All Round 1 fiber has now been placed into service almost a year ahead of schedule. The second phase of the project is more than 3 times the size, with a current baseline of 1,694 route miles.
I don't think today we can fully realize the net result of this investment, and that's why it is exciting.
Particularly acknowledge Joe and MCNC for how they have been an absolute stellar partner in sharing their best practices and advice with our other grantees and helping them solve problems that they're encountering, the challenges that they have.
Lastly, the great team at MCNC should be commended for their hard work in seeing this portion of the project to fruition. MCNC also worked with the North Carolina Institute of Minority Economic Development to make qualifying businesses throughout the state aware of BTOP-related opportunities resulting from this phase of the project.
I'm holding in my hand a piece of the future of North Carolina. A lot of folks across the state and across this country and around the world will never have the opportunity to hold this fiber, but they do understand what connectivity means to them, to their child's school, to their community colleges or university, to their home, to the sharing and learning in an easily, readily available information content sphere.
This real-time information gathering, what will be generated from this initiative, accelerates innovation. It in fact makes manufacturing more efficient. This transition occurs at a time when we have extraordinarily constrained state resources.
So when schools and community colleges and hospitals and universities and libraries get access to dependable cost broadband, is to give everybody the same access to the high-speed access of learning all across the world.
In terms of moving large multi-terabyte data sets around, you can see it with people in the Triangle or people located around the country. It's now practical because we went from a 1 gig link, as you may know, to now a 10 gig link.
You know, to have to drive 2 hours to go see your doctor, I think that's just not the mark of the society I want to be part of. But I think today what is going to be able to happen is that this link that Mr. Fredoso and all of us are working on to bring that healthcare network together, that I think it's going to be more humane, more profoundly decent way to help treat people and get access to the healthcare jobs, which are such an essential part of our infrastructure all over the place.
Even seconds count when you're talking about patient care. So the ability to have access to affordable broadband that allows us to have secondary and diverse connections both between the facilities and to the internet is very important to us. Beyond telehealth and telemedicine, one thing that we also see in the future is the sharing of information and services across our 10 hospitals and the clinics that we have within the region.
This is an investment that, as you've heard, is going to significantly benefit the people and businesses in North Carolina, from the research institutions such as this one, but just as importantly, to reach so many of the rural areas across the state.
And what I see this today is a dream for the future of Eastern North Carolina, and this dream will become a reality sooner rather than later.
Consider this. Before these projects, only 12 out of North Carolina's 100 counties could access broadband at speeds of greater than 1 gigabit. But these two projects, once the money is spent and the construction is completed, will expand that number to 83 counties. That's a 600% increase, bringing into these counties a gigabit, and that's hundreds of times faster than the speed most of you are enjoying at your home. It's the minimum amount necessary that counties have in order to take advantage of this new economy.
I think one of the things that we always think about is our network is something that makes dreams reality, right? Research that happens on our network makes dreams reality. Whether that research is a genomics Nobel Prize winner at UNC Chapel Hill and Oliver Smithy's doing research over Internet 2 with our connection to Dave Lambert, who's in the audience in Internet 2, with a co-genomics researcher at Stanford, or whether it's a third grade girl in a rural school district who's downloading a video to enhance her PowerPoint. We serve all those needs every day.
People connecting with people through technology yield great collaborations. MCNC remains focused on meeting the needs of its customers, and the expansion of MCRAN is allowing our customers to drive innovations in education, healthcare, and other community services throughout North Carolina.